Yo people, it's Jeff here again today. We have another subscriber question. I just want to really say thanks for sending in your suggestions and your questions. It's really been helping me, brainstorm and making it easier for me to come up with content. So please keep sending any questions you have, and I will try to answer them as soon as possible. So today's topic is failure, specifically the fear of failure. The subscriber asked to me to speak about what is the fear of failure. So the first question I think we need to answer is, what is failure? A lot of people see failure as a negative experience. Yes, it does not feel good, but to me failure is just feedback. It means something you're doing is not working. So for instance, if you are trying to lose weight, or even better, if you keep failing an exam, it is just identifying for you that you are lacking knowledge or understanding in a specific area in a field of study. That's all failure really is. Failure is just feedback, but because it has a negative connotation attached to it, people eventually over time become fearful of it, and that can be very paralyzing. So I'm going to identify a few areas that can cause failure to reoccur and how to overcome that. Right? So the first thing will be limiting beliefs. Most of the time, people fear failure because of obviously past experiences with failure itself, and then never having, faced it, or never having surpassed that feeling brought about by that experience. So it then goes on to create limiting beliefs. Possibly a belief that I am not good enough to achieve a certain goal, or I don't have the required knowledge, or I am not skilled enough. And really and truly, it's just negative self-talk or negative internal dialogue that can prevent you from reaching your goals. So the only way to really get past limiting beliefs would be to, identify what specifically it is that you're telling yourself that is preventing you from moving past it, and then addressing it. The second part is the notion that fear does not really exist. If you think about it, most people fear circumstances that have not occurred as yet. So basically, it is your imagination giving you the what if scenarios, or the possibilities of what could happen. So you are fearing a circumstance that has not occurred. So really and truly, fear does not technically exist, but you are creating it by imagining possible negative experiences. And to me, that doesn't really help you in the way of reaching your goals. So once you actually understand that it doesn't really exist, and you are creating it within yourself, then you also know that you also have the power to create that self-belief. And that really takes some work on your mental approach to whatever obstacles and whatever objectives you have in your way. The third point is to do whatever it is you set out to do, despite the fact that you might be fearful of failing again. There was a quote that I came across sometime back, which simply stated, "Feel the fear and do it anyways." It means despite the fact that you know that the possibility of failing is present, that you just take you take your best approach, or put your best foot forward towards the situation, and let the outcome happen. Either one of two things can happen. Either you can be successful in your action, or you may fail. And in either case, both of them are just feedback mechanisms to whatever actions you would have gone about using. So if you are successful, it means you did the right things, and therefore you should be happy and content with the outcome. But if you failed, it means there are some parts of your game or your game plan that you may need to address. So use failure as feedback more so than a reflection of yourself. Failure is not tied to you directly. It's just tied to actions that you are taking. So if you're not taking the right actions, It's just feedback for you to, make some changes and go again. And if you fail, but you get closer to the point that you want to get to, then you know that you are, moving in the right directions and, making adjustments that are beneficial to you getting to the successful point that you're after. And that's all courage really is. Courage is acting in spite of being fearful, not the absence of fear. And I think that is something most people misunderstand. I guess because when you see people taking action and being successful at certain activities, you automatically assume that they aren't fearful, but that's not always the case. Yes, they may get to the point where they are not as fearful anymore about negative outcomes because they've had experience being successful, but usually there's some underlying discomfort or nervousness still associated with taking risks or taking a chance, and the culmination of facing your fears and using the feedback from previous failures will eventually lead to success, which is the end goal of why you're engaging in any activity anyways. I'll even give you an example of how I use failure to, become not successful but obtain my goal of, starting my own gym. The current business I have now is actually the 4th business I've had. I had 3 others before and all 3 failed. But what I realized is that with each successive failure, I learned different lessons that got me closer and closer to my goal. And those happened over a period of 2 or 3 years. So I failed several times, and yes, sometimes I took it harder than others. I will also admit at certain points I did give up, but I found it within me to pick up and go again. And on the journey to starting my current business, I will reach the same points that I would have before with the previous businesses that I would have started, and I would have been able to navigate differently because I've had experiences in those different departments. So, your failure can teach you valuable lessons that you can use to get closer to or obtain your goals altogether. Don't take failure as a negative experience, and don't take it as something personal either. Use it for what it is, feedback, and feedback leading you closer to success. Most major success stories that you've heard about actually have experienced multiple failures. All it requires is the willpower to pick up and go again. So that's pretty much it. I hope this video addressed what you were asking. I hope you would have learned something from it. If you found it of value, please like and comment and subscribe to my channel.